use the future perfect tense to talk about a situation that is completed in the future. To form the future perfect tense, use will and then have, and the main verb is in the form of a past participle. This is now and this is the future. The future perfect tense is used to talk about some completion of an activity in the future. An activity that is completed in the future exists only in your imagination. This is 2025 and this is 2026. By this time next year, you will have become 1 year older. So here's 2025, this is now, and here's 2026. Unless you die, you will have become 1 year older. You'll often hear by the time and then some sort of situation here when using the future perfect tense. By the time. By this time next year. By 2030. By next winter. By next week. By the time you finish watching this video, I hope you will have learned how to use the future perfect verb tense. But you haven't finished watching the video yet. This will happen in the future. I expect that this will take just a few minutes. By the time you finish watching this video, I hope you will have learned to use the future perfect verb tense. You have to watch the video until the very end in order for this to happen in the future.
There he is. Hey, Ben! Well done.
Let's use the verb leave. This is a good choice when a person is anticipating something is late or a person is going to be late. By the time we get to the airport, the plane will have already left. The main verb is leave. It's in the form of a past participle. By the time we get to the airport, that would happen somewhere here. We arrive at the airport. The plane will have already left. And this is the past participle. Will have already left. On a timeline, here's the situation now. You're heading to the airport and the plane will have already left at this point. And then whoever, in this case it's we, get to the airport, we arrive at the airport, but this happens after the plane has already left. So this will happen first, and then we arrive. Notice that this verb is in the present tense by the time we get. And in this part of the sentence, the use of already comes before the main verb. This is a good way to emphasize that this happens and is finished in the future. Will have already left. You'll often see the use of the word already before the past participle. So both of these actions are finished in the future. We get to the airport and then the plane is gone. Thinking about the future, by the time we get to the theater, so this has not happened yet, the movie will have already begun. And this has not happened yet. Here, the movie will have begun by the time we get to the theater, which would happen sometime after the movie begins. Both of these happen in the future, and this is finished in the future. Thinking about something that is already finished, this is a type of prediction. She hopes that she will have saved enough money for her trip by next year. Here's the future perfect tense. The goal is to have enough money before next year. The word by is similar to before. So before this happens next year, she hopes that she will have saved enough money. And this is completed in the future. By the end of this trip, and then here's a comma. This is actually two prepositional phrases that begin the sentence. By the end and of this trip. So there's a comma here. We will have traveled over 1,000 miles. So the trip is still happening, and we haven't traveled 1,000 miles yet, but we will. It's anticipated that we will travel 1,000 miles in the future. And this will be finished, this goal, by the end of the trip. This kind of a sentence is an easy prediction to make when a person is traveling. You know how many miles you've traveled, and you know how many miles you have yet to go. So if the total trip is 1,000 miles, and at present you are at 400 miles, this is the future. You know, at the end of the trip, this is the number of miles that you will have traveled. In the year 2028, I will have worked as a teacher for 40 years. I began teaching in 1988, and by the time it's 2028, I will have worked as a teacher for 40 years. But it's not 2028 yet. It's 2025. I have 3 years to go. If I want to talk about 2025, I can use the present perfect tense and say that I have worked as a teacher for 37 years. That's the present perfect tense. If I want to project the completion of a period of time, then I can use this. I will have worked as a teacher for 40 years in the year 2028. But it's not 2028 yet.